Hello, Donna D'Angelo here from the Institute of Christ Consciousness. Thank you for joining me for this third installment of our series, The Time of Revelation. Today, I'll be talking about our divine plan for planetary evolution and the evolution of human consciousness to higher levels. But before I do, please like this video and share it with others if you feel it would resonate with them. And please feel free to join us at the Institute of Christ Consciousness by going to our website and becoming a member. A membership is free and it will get you access to our offerings, which are outlined on our homepage. So I hope to see you there. And again, thank you for tuning into the YouTube channel. Okay. The divine plan of planetary evolution and human consciousness is created at the highest level of reality. And as I've explained in the two previous videos, there is a level of reality where everything exists in perfection. It does not evolve, does not change. It is existentially perfect. So the divine plans are created there for the evolutionary unfolding of the time-space, entire multiverse expanse of the cosmos. There are two divine beings who originate from the Paradise Trinity, the Divine Father and the Divine Mother, who leave their perfect home to embark upon a time-space adventure of creating their own home, excuse me, where they co-create a wide variety of intelligent beings, including humans like we, who live on the evolutionary material worlds. They also create a wide variety of other spiritual intelligences and personalities, such as angels, universe teachers, archangels, and they provide an ascension plan for the evolutionary worlds to cultivate a higher planetary culture so that one day it actually reflects the perfection of the existential level in its own unique way. In the Urantia book, they discuss with several papers the actual process by which this occurs. The evolutionary ascension process for planetary consciousness and human spiritual development is a very long and slow process. And it does not happen over a course of, say, 1 or 2 millennia. It happens over thousands and thousands of years. We do not also have to do this alone. Each planet is given a wide variety of celestial and angelic help to cultivate its divine plan. And in our next installment, I'll be talking about the planetary rebellion that took us off track of the divine timing and is now in the process of being corrected by our spiritual mother and father, who have put in place a merciful, wonderful plan of rehabilitation and redemption for this world to get back on track of its evolution to higher consciousness. So, just to give you an idea of what this divine plan of evolution is, every inhabited world that is populated by human beings such as we are what the Urantia book terms will mortal creatures that have a definite beginning through procreation, and yet we have the ability to ascend our consciousness by tapping into the indwelling spirit of our Creator, who has given us the gift of selfhood to evolve. And what we evolve is our souls that are a part of this beautiful, what you might call matrix of life, in which we are held and is part of our innate composition. The divine plan of evolution is both for the individual to develop and for the planet to develop both at the same time. The divine plan of planetary evolution is very complex, however, and it, as I said, encompasses a wide range of time going into the thousands and thousands of years. And as our planetary consciousness evolves and ascends to higher levels, so does our human consciousness. They are synergistically and mutually interdependent. So as we grow spiritually, we help the collective and vice versa. As the collective planetary consciousness ascends, it also feeds each human so that we are being fed with the correct information we need to fulfill our sacred purposes for why we are here in human form on a material world. So let's talk a little bit about the divine plan of evolutionary planetary evolution. When this planet was originally created, there comes into play a divine template for our planet's evolution. And you might say it is housed in the etheric template of the planet at the core of the earth. This is not something you can see with your physical eyes, it's a spiritual blueprint. And it serves as a guiding matrix to help humanity learn the lessons it needs in order to evolve to a higher social culture. Now, when this plan is given to the planet, there starts in motion a wide variety of activities, some spiritual, some at the conscious level, and some at the material level. And when I say the conscious level, I'm talking about the circuits of mind that pervade all of our universe, that is the part of our universe mother. She is the universe womb of consciousness, and she holds our planet in her spiritual gravity. She is the originator of consciousness. There is a spirit person behind that. Consciousness is not just something that exists. A spiritual personality created our consciousness, and our mother gave us 7 circuits hardwired into our chakra system to give us the ability to think, feel, and act. It animates our bodies and our minds, and it also animates the life force of the planet as well to start the evolutionary process. Now, this world was created a long, long time ago. And in the Urantia book, it talks in great detail about how this planet came into being. I don't plan to go into that part right now because you certainly can read it on your own in the Urantia book, and I do encourage you because it is a fascinating story. What I will talk about is how humans came into being. Now, at one level of the universe, there is a group of personalities that the Urantia book calls the life carriers. These are the universe scientists, and they work to bring about the composition of humans and beings who are like us. They have a physical body, they have a mind, they have a soul, they have a spirit, and they live on different worlds that are, their bodies are created for the physical characteristics of that planet. So our planet had a group of universe scientists. The term they use in the Urantia book is called the life carriers. And they experiment with all of the different elements and biochemicals that compose our human nature, our human physiology and anatomy. When they have reached a certain level of experimentation and the viability of their energy for the human creation is deemed appropriate, they carry that life plasm from their locale into the briny waters of our planet and they impart that life plasm into what you might call very primitive cell structures. And then the Divine Mother does something quite magical. She imparts the breath of life to give the protoplasm uh, the ability to breathe and live. And this is the beginning of our human nature. Now, the information carried forth from the life carriers is very complex because it contains the whole evolutionary spectrum from very primitive life up to the level of human life and human intelligence. And during the early times of our planetary inception, when life was implanted here, the development of life is carefully safeguarded so that it has a chance to flourish and prosper and evolve us into human beings. We have an animal inheritance, and so that is part of our initial inception. So when the planet starts to harbor human life through this long evolutionary ascension process, there is a gift given to humans who have reached a level of God consciousness. And in the higher chakras, especially the third eye and the crown chakra, there are two circuits. One is called the spirit of worship in the third eye, and the other one is called the spirit of wisdom. Now, these are two circuits that our animal ancestors do not have. Our mother endows us with those two extra special circuits, so we have the ability to choose godliness, to choose cooperation and collaboration with our Creator. When this starts to function in humans, then there is another gift bestowed, and that is the gift of the indwelling spirit. Humans have to have the capacity to recognize who our Creator is. And so, in these two spiritual endowments, and I have written about this on my Institute of Christ Consciousness website under the heading of the Human System of Consciousness under the Living Christ Consciousness heading. And you can read about that, where I talk about how the Divine Mother, what you might say, programs us with those seven spirits to give us the ability to think, feel, and act. So when humans reach the state of development, the procreation process is working to develop humans. And according to the Urantia book, the first humans appeared who had the ability to know God and to seek for the divine guidance was roughly under 1 million years ago. And these were a pair of humans who came from their animal ancestors. They were called Andon and Fanta. And they were the actual progenitors of the human species. They were our ancient parents. And over a long period of evolution, the pair starts to procreate and have many, many, many children. And of course, again, this is all related in the Arantia book, and you can read it for yourself. I'm just giving you kind of like the Cliff Notes background of how this process works. So I'm going to fast forward a few thousand, maybe many thousands of years into the future. So humanity is developing. Humanity is growing according to much divine guidance, especially by the angelic helpers who are feeding humanity with information about how to grow spiritually, how to conduct affairs on the planet, how to garden, how to establish social institutions. This is all part of the growing divine plan. And when a civilization is deemed ready, there is a level of spiritual help from a higher level, one level administratively above us called the system. And we are given a spiritual planetary manager who is charged with developing humanity to the highest state of consciousness, Christ consciousness, and to assist the planet in its evolutionary ascension journey. So this was given to the planet roughly 500,000 years ago. And there was a personality, spiritual personality, who was created to be an administrator of an evolutionary world, who knew what the divine plan of evolution was and was charged to help humanity reach the state of higher consciousness. And the purpose of this is for our culture to one day reach a place of light and life where civilization no longer has to suffer war, poverty, illness. There is one universal planetary language. There is a lot more peace and harmony between humans. It really would be as if we were living on heaven when we reach this state. And we are in the process of returning to the divine plan now after a long hiatus due to the planetary rebellion, which I'll be going into in our next installment. But for right now, going back to the earlier phases of planetary development, this culture of the planetary manager is accompanied by 100 ascended humans from other worlds who have volunteered to come back to teach the indigenous population of this world the higher ways of universe living, so that primitive humanity can outgrow some of its earliest stages of war and conflict, lack of understanding of the laws of nature. These, what you might call supermortals, are charged with helping humanity understand the higher laws of physics and the way the universe works and our relationship to the natural world to harness its energies for our sustenance and maintenance. Eventually, over thousands and thousands of years, humans develop gradually, slowly, by collaborating with their angelic helpers and these planetary, spiritual planetary teachers who are very loving and very supportive, but step back and let us kind of do our thing to ensure that we are growing. They do not necessarily interfere with our affairs, but act as safeguards to ensure that we are moving in the right direction. So eventually, the divine plan will lead us to living on this world in a way that reflects a more divine or heavenly culture. And as I said, we had an interruption in that timeline of development, which I'll go into in the next installment. But for right now, I just want to emphasize the fact that this planet has a divine plan of evolution. It was not created by humans. It was given to planetary helpers of a spiritual nature to shepherd us into these higher levels of consciousness. And this is all being done with great love, with great over control, and with greater watch care by our planetary helpers of the spiritual higher dimensions. So, this is a very important facet to appreciate because as we go through this higher consciousness ascension, I think some people feel that this is something that we are developing on our own. And I like to emphasize that this is a collaborative process with the spiritual realms to shepherd humanity and the whole planetary life system, including plants and animals, the mineral kingdom, all realms of life to evolve to a higher level where we are all living in peace and harmony and unity. And we are on our way after this long break in our evolutionary process. And so we are now in a new phase of cultivating the divine plan. But because we had this break in our evolution, certain compensations had to be given to us by our divine mother and father to bring us back into what we should have developed by now. Because if our planet had this heavenly civilization on our planet 500,000 years ago, with our planetary manager acting as the caretaker and the sponsor for human evolution, we would have been in a much different position by now, and humanity would not be going through what it is going through at the present moment. But irrespective of that, there is a compensatory plan, a rehabilitation plan that picks up where we left off from the evolutionary timeline to bring us back to the correct plan of evolution. This is all recounted for in the Urantia book, mostly in part two and part. The plan of evolution is recounted in part two. Part three talks about the planetary rebellion and what happened to the planet to take us off its course and take us into this dark period that we're still coming out of. So the point here to emphasize again is that this is being given to us. And in the divine plan of compensation, some of the things that are being given to us is an upgrade in our DNA, which was corrupted during the rebellion. And I will speak about that again in the next installment. The evolution of human consciousness to perceive the higher tones and notes and information of the universe, which we should have had access to. The other thing that is very important is that we have been given a wide variety of spiritual helpers, some angels, some ascended, people call them ascended masters, individuals who have come from other worlds that are more advanced to whisper in our ears and to provide us with the inspiration that we need to bring about this heavenly culture. Want to emphasize that we are doing this as humans, but with tremendous amount of spiritual and angelic and other levels of consciousness, their help. We do not have to do it alone, but we are the ones who live here, and we are what we call boots on the ground, and we are the ones who have to make the changes. And so, what we're going through in this period is outworking and coming to terms with what happened here many thousands of years ago that took us into rebellion from the divine ways of life and get us back into an awareness of how we use our human will, our volition, our choices to say, no, we do not want to support the ways of war and poverty and illness and all of those separation type of energies. We want to collaborate with spirit. We want to get back to our unity consciousness. We want to ascend into these higher levels of living where everyone shares in the bounties of the earth, where there's equality and fairness and justice and peace. This is where we are heading from a long, long slumber of spiritual darkness. In closing, I just want to encourage you to open your mind to this larger perspective of reality. The divine plan of evolution for our world is also similar to the divine plans of evolution for other worlds. Even though our world did stray, there is a pathway, a divine pathway for planets to follow to reach these higher levels of consciousness. And even though our world suffered a tremendous setback for many, many, many years, that doesn't mean we have to maintain that position, and we can move forward, and we are in this time. And it requires every human, every one of us, to get on board. And so we are in a period right now of choosing. You might consider this to be an invitation for divine justice to, what's the word I'm looking for? to function here on the planet. And the divine justice means simply one thing: to choose the way of love, to move away from war and conflict and separation, to open yourselves to loving yourself and loving others and becoming more of who you are as a son or daughter of God and the divine purposes for which you have been created. So we're living in a marvelous age, and unfortunately, part of the problems we're facing is that it's very difficult for some people to open to this higher level of reality. There are reasons why this is so, and as I said, I will be discussing this in greater detail in our next installment. I hope you have found this information helpful and useful to your spiritual upliftment. Remember, there is a divine plan within you. Your spirit knows the way forward. And in this time of planetary rehabilitation, the human mind is also being rehabilitated by spiritual help. The spirit within is guiding you forward to help you perceive what is holding you back, not as a punishment or to induce fear into you, but to lovingly guide you out of any feelings of unworthiness, guilt, or shame, or things that have happened to you in the past that have hurt you. Your spirit knows all about this. And as you collaborate in this time of planetary upliftment with other humans, keep in mind that you can also collaborate with other spiritual beings who want to come close to you and feed you with the information you need. Your spirit also has all of the information you need to apprehend. It's only a matter of learning how to quiet your mind, tap into those higher circuits of information. You are expanding the bandwidth of your consciousness, and you can expand it exponentially over time as you open to your spirit and participate in this great movement of planetary restoration and rehabilitation to the divine plan of life. Thank you for allowing me to share these moments with you. And again, I hope you will like this video and share it with others who might be struggling with understanding what's happening on the planet. It can give people great hope to perceive that there is a divine plan of evolution, and now that plan is operating. And more people are tuning in through prayer, through meditation and contemplation. But remember, it is your spirit and your higher self, that I am presence that comes from our Creator, that lives within you and is helping you open to these higher principles of life. And when you start to feel that spirit essence and presence move within you, it changes everything, because now you are getting back your life back on track, and you are cooperating with the divine plan within you that is also contributing to the overall planetary divine plan. What a journey we're on. Journey and joy, grace and beauty. And may you always feel the presence of love within you from your spirit and your higher I am self of the Creator as you move forward gracefully on this path of ascension. Thank you so much. Goodbye for now. God bless you.